One. Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today is Nancy Goemans, who is founder and co-owner of Pie Junkie in Calgary. Thanks for joining us today, Nancy.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Pie Junkie. Tell me just a little bit about what it is and what you folks do.
I think we've got a really kind of a unique concept. The pie junkie is pie being traditionally made, so by hand. The recipes are a lot of them are family recipes from myself, my partner, and other family members that we've collected recipes. Everything is made from scratch. No preservatives, no fillers, no unethical products that are environmentally unsound, like palm oil. So anything that goes into our pies is existed 100 years ago, and we kind of make it pretty similar to the way they made it 100 years. Maybe not the best. Way to make money, but we're continuing to produce a product that we're incredibly proud of, and it's an art form that I felt was dying and worth saving. So, yeah, we make sweet, we make savory pies. We change the menus up regularly so that we use a lot of local as much as we possibly can, and because it's a Canadian product, other than maybe the bananas and the
Yeah.
limes and lemons.
So
So,
tell me some logistical stuff. When did you start?
so we're just celebrating 10 years. We opened in September 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I know it's been a big year. We actually just opened our fifth store in West District here in Calgary, and it was sort of in time for the grand opening and the 10th anniversary, which was pretty special. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time 10 years ago. How did this all start and why?
Uh, um, 10 years ago, about 12 years ago, my mother passed away. And I have four children, and two are special needs. So my oldest daughter has Williams syndrome, and she was quite upset at the passing of my mom, as was I. But my mother would come, and being a traditional Italian mom, she would make pasta with the kids, and she would teach them how to make butter tarts and how to make pie. So in Taya's mind, Nana's visits were all about pie. So she said to me when my mom died, who's going to make pie with me? And I said, well, mom will. And I was in the advertising and marketing world and did a lot. Most of my work was in hospitality. And she said, well, when I grow up, I want to own a pie shop and make pie. And I think that there was just enough transition going on in that industry and in myself. And I kind of heard that and went, I want to create a place, a safe place, a community place, and kind of honor my British dad, who was the savory pie maker in our life. And so, with Tay in mind, I started the research and the brand development. And, a year and a half later, the Pie Junkie was born.
So when did you, in making that transition from your quote unquote former life, former
Yeah.
professional life into this, uh, you know, uh, was it a straight transition or did you do it part-time until you got the pie junking going?
The best laid plans of men, right? I thought in my, because I had worked in the hospitality and branding and stuff, so River Cafe and Mescaleros and, the Buffalo Mountain and all of the vintage projects, those were projects that I worked on, Azurich Estate Hotel. So I approached this as if it were a client, you know, coming to me. So I did the research. I went through everything and approached it as if it was a client with the idea that I could bring in a partner with a kitchen background and I could do the marketing and the branding and some of the beautiful packaging that would be needed for. It was just all very pretty in my brain. And I would be close to my children who were, getting older. Um, so the plan was, yeah, I was going to kind of create my studio within that space and work part-time, full-time. It hit the ground running, and there was no way I could ever do anything but Pie Junkie from day one.
Wow. Why do you think it was a success from the get-go?
You know, I My husband's a contractor, and so we actually took over the space in this little, I used to call it the ghetto plaza in by our community, which is still our Spruce Cliff store. But it was a really kind of the community hadn't built up yet. They hadn't built the new community association. So I was in there painting and scraping and building walls, and people would keep dropping by and go, Pie Junkie, my mom made the best. My mom made the best. My grandmother used to make a crab apple pie. Will you be making flapper pie? So I think people missed it. I think that the generation that knew pie, there's a lot of, God, so many men would say, "You're going to make savory pie," And my dad, the steak and mushroom is my father's recipe. The sausage rolls came from his pork pie. We make my great great grandmother's mince meat. So I think a lot of people, there's a lot of, pie is comfort food. Pie is nostalgic. I remember being raised in Guelph, Ontario, and couldn't wait for the rhubarb to come up because that would be the first
Oh,
pie of the season, right? So I think it had to do with the fact that we hit a note with people going that knew that what you buy at the grocery stores or at co-op is really not pie, and that there was no real pie available. And yeah, we've get so many wonderful comments right from day one. It tastes like my mother's pie. I cried. It was like going home.
yeah.
Yeah, we get a ton of that, so it's pretty wonderful. So I think we just hit the right note, and
Do you,
then we've introduced a whole new generation of people to pie.
yeah. Do you still make pie, or is it you just on the business development side of things?
I certainly make a lot less pie. The first years, carpal tunnel from making pie. The first
Yeah.
weeks, I couldn't move my hands. We were still using rolling pins before it got the pie presses. I do not make pie daily anymore, but I will tell you that when we need to jump on the line, myself and my partner will jump on the line and start making pie, no problem. And I often do just to keep in touch with the staff, in these busy seasons, like this weekend, if I jump on the line or I'm in the kitchen decoring, that's kind of normal. But we're still there every Monday to taste all the savory fillings. Like nothing gets made in the savory department that we don't taste it. I'm always there to taste the fillings because we make everything at the one commissary at Spruce Cliff where we started, and then distribute regularly daily right now to all of the other stores so that it's always fresh, but there's consistency in all the locations.
Do you have plans to grow even more locations?
I think I think given, my sage age, and Joanne and I are, both I'm 62, right? So I think, store number five's been great and it's exciting. I don't think I'm ready to retire, but I think that we would be looking to maybe develop some partnerships or to take it to the next level. We've been creating it as an entity of almost an easy franchise so that we can go from store one to store two to store three. Store five was easy to make. We knew everything, right? We have all the information in terms of recipes and onboarding packages and job descriptions, and everything we do has been documented. So I think at this point in time, I don't have the sixth store in mind, but I wasn't sure I had the fifth store in mind, and then it was my idea.
Yeah. So,
So
so
yeah, we'll see where it takes us, but we're
yeah.
certainly open to um, some new blood. Yeah, I think that has a little more energy to take it to that next level because I think it's ready.
Okay. When you first started off, in this business, what was the biggest challenge you had to face?
God, they were countless. I think every entrepreneur would tell you that. I think that I would tell you that I was surprised that we went from dollars. Like in the marketing world, we would look at budgets and they would be thousands of dollars. And when we went to the pie world, we were looking at nickels and dimes, especially when you're looking at a handmade product that's premium. So I think re readjusting my brain in terms of yeah, you can't count dollars anymore. You got to count pennies. This piece, it's just that tight, and it changes so rapidly. I think the food industry, really understanding right now how global warming is affecting our products, like chocolate and coffee and cinnamon and vanilla. And just last week we were told our sour cherries, which we knew was coming. The changes in our climate are making really big changes in our price points and in availability. A couple of years ago, that heat dome that we had, there were no raspberries, but there were no raspberries not just in Canada, there was no raspberries worldwide. And
Huh.
the price, and so I think recognizing the vulnerability of the food system has been a really big part of this for me, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
curious, what does your daughter Taya think now, 10 years later, of all this and what's grown?
well, Taya is she's a wonderful personality. So Taya does have a role to play. She likes to walk around and tell everybody that she's the boss. Um, so Taya, she does occasionally work in the stores. She isn't working there right now. So we always have a staff member that she shadows, and right now the person that she typically shadows is no longer with us, sadly. So she just likes to come in and let everybody know that it was her idea.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
tell me, if you're looking at talking to a young person that's or even just even an older person that's an
Huh.
aspiring entrepreneur, what advice would you give them?
I think we've all heard it that the first 5 years are super challenging. And I think people always go, "Oh my goodness, you've been such a hit and you've been so busy." But the learning curve is like that. Even when you understand marketing, even when you understand business, both Joanne and I came from, business backgrounds, and I had my own business forever. I think when you start something new, you have to be excited about the amount of hours that you're going to put in, and you need to be excited about the constant learning. And, you know, we make the joke we get smarter every day, right?
Yeah.
But usually that's because, oh, we should have saw that coming. Uh, so I think the first 5 years, yeah, it's a ride, and I think that you need to be expect to learn a lot in a short period of time, and expect to be poor for a chunk of that time, for sure.
No.
It's always tight. I've worked with several entrepreneurs in my career of 30 years in advertising and marketing and building lots of brands. And I saw it, but until you actually experience it, it's a different world.
Yeah. So what makes you get through all that?
Um, well, for me, I think, once my personality, I'm very tenacious. So once I jumped into this, I jumped in wholeheartedly. I made a commitment to close Montana Creative Communications and to make this work. And then I had these wonderful people that, looked at me for a paycheck. And they were important people to me, and they were working hard and as well and building it with us. And so that was a big part of it. I think, yeah, I think once you sort of get in, you fall in love with the idea of making it work. But I think, yeah, I was tenacious. I wasn't giving up.
Hmm.
There was no way I was going to give up. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Nancy, for joining us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time today, and
Uh,
happy Thanksgiving.
yes, thank you. You too.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
that was Nancy Goemans, who is founder and co-owner of Pie Junkie in Calgary. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.